All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gravity Rush Finals. I think that trailer gets me hyped every single time before the show begins. But we have the entire cast here today. I'm super excited. I'm happy because we have everybody here. So we got
What do you mean? Is someone
Croncy.
not here sometimes, crew? What's going on? What are you talking about?
Just you. We got Cyberfox. Just you, Croncy. You know what? Let's kick it straight to you, Croncy. How have you been,
Oh, God.
man? How have you been doing? Have you been keeping up with Gravity Rush? How's it been, man?
Yeah, it's been very busy. As a lot of you know, that we're preparing for a baby coming in probably just under 2 months now. So it's been hard to keep up with anything StarCitizen related, if I'm being honest. But I'm glad to be back for the finals and ready to see some of the best races in StarCitizen and give it their go.
Yes, we had insane semifinals, which we'll cover here in a bit here. But Tint, how you been, man? How you doing? Welcome to the finals. How you feeling for today?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling great. This is going to be absolutely killer to watch. I'm so excited to see our final six smash it out on these 9 races. To be great.
Yeah, it should be pretty fun. Jacketin, how about yourself, man? This is the Gravity Rush Finals. It's been a little bit of a journey to get here, but how you feeling about today in itself?
Man, this is it, right? This is the final. This is where we get our top 3. Yeah, it's really, really exciting. We've had some fantastic racing throughout the entire series, so I'm really looking forward to these top 6 guys just decking it out on each other here for these races tonight.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Cyberfox, always with a smiley face, can't get over that infectious smile. How you doing, man? How you feeling for those Gravity Rush Finals today?
Yeah, the smile is kind of a bit of a lie. It feels a bit bittersweet to me because I've had a blast, and that after this it's over. We're gonna be crowning the king of Gravity Rush, and then like that's it. It's bittersweet. It's exciting, but it's kind of sad because it's been such a hyped event.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Like I kind of shared with you guys yesterday, I've learned more about ship racing. Listening to you guys talk about it and kind of go through all the motions, and I feel like I learned a lot and was able to cast. I feel like the last few events pretty well from my point of view. I went back and looked at it, so yeah. So thank you guys all for the awesome, just our analyst Tint and Jacketin, of course, and then Croncy and Cyberfox, on the mic whenever Croncy's here. But yeah, it's going to be a great finals today. We're going to cover all of the finals, the structure, how we're breaking it down. But before we do that, let's take a look at the overall structure for Gravity Rush in general and see how we got to the finals here. So let's jump over here. So we started off with the group stage, right? So in the group stage, we had pretty much groups of 4 or 5 in each group, and then from each group we had the top 3 advance. And then in the semifinals, going back real quick, the group stage was it took over about 3 different race days across, I believe, a month and a half, and then we went to the semifinals. So every top 3 would go into rushes. So depending on where you came into that into the top 3, so if you were in 3rd place, you would start off in rush 3. If you were in 2nd place, you would start off in rush 2. In 1st place in rush 1. So and then in the semifinals, which we'll kind of talk about a little bit here, we saw racers kind of jump up and down in rushes until the last 3 races, where if you started off in rush 3, you got eliminated, and then you move on up into the top 2 would move up into rush 2 for a total of 6 racers, and then we would drop those 2, and then we would go up to rush 1 where those 4 racers would meet those other 4 racers. But something that I wanted to chat about with the panel here is that our top 6 for today is going to be Liquid Prime. We have Ordito, we got Shaqnu, we got Jelly Headmade, we got Samtastic, and we got Canadian Maverick. So going into the finals, these are your top 6 that are going to be competing in a point structure across, and we'll go over that in a little bit. Let's get back to the desk here. But I wanted to kick things off here, Cyberfox, with you. Semifinals, looking at this top 6, is this your ideal top 6 that you felt was going to make it to the finals?
I mean, there was a bit of heartbreak as well as a few surprises. Some of the highlights for me were you saw a few crash to desktops in the last round, and yet because of the competition, because people basically DNF'd during the race. That means that those who crashed to desktop could still qualify for the finals. So we had lots of excitement going on there. And I'd say that in terms of the three races, the 6 races, we've got like a 3 versus 3. We got the Snubs versus the racing ships. We got Jelly Audito and Shaqnu and Snubs versus Liquid Canadian Maverick in the racing ships. And our format this time with our tracks, we're getting heavier and heavier and heavier in terms of the gravity from 0G down to gravity. So I think the ATMO getting thicker as we proceed through this final leg of the tournament, it really is a gravity rush and quite a fitting end to the competition. But now the racers are really competing with each other. And honestly, I don't know what it's going to be like. Last time I said it's a tortoise versus hares situation, but we've got like at least 4 hares in this race, and then we've got the super fast Snubs, but longer races, so they've got to keep up with and keep the pressure on with the racing ships. So honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen. It's really exciting. I just want to see how this unfolds.
Well, it's going to be a good day for racing, especially, you know, getting some of these racers where, you know, they haven't really competed against each other that much other than the semifinals. So we're going to see a lot of that today, and, you know, let the best racer win. But Croncy, your thoughts on this top 6 here? You know, we got Liquid Prime, Ordito, Shaqnu, Jelly Handmade, Samtastic, and Canadian Maverick. How are you feeling about this top 6? And was there anybody that, you know, that you feel, you know, that didn't make it to the finals that you thought was going to make it, but it's not here?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a great spread for the top 6 of what we've seen over the course of all the rounds. I am a little sad, of course, as you would all imagine I would be, that we do not have Splen here today. He's still with us. He's still alive. I want to make that perfectly clear. uh, uh, but that being said, like all of the rounds that we've had, Liquid Prime and Shaqnu have been 2 of the races that have just been absolutely smashing it every single round. I'm really, really glad to see them again here today, and I'm hoping that they can sort of push forward through the finals and get a consistent finish. And I am unsurprised with the top 6 is sort of what I'm trying to say.
Awesome. Jacqueline, same question to you about this top 6 going into the finals. How are you feeling about these amazing racers?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, all things considered, we have an awesome spread. I mean, I'll be completely honest. Had you asked me who I would have predicted, aside, you know, we'd still have Ordito, Liquid Prime, Jellyhead, Made, and Shaqnu. But, you know, I probably would have expected Splen and Jetty to make it to the final as well. But, you know, we've seen it several times across the board. With racing, you never know, right? You could be the fastest guy. It only takes one mistake and you off the grid. So, unfortunately, we did see that happen both to Splen and Jetty, but the way the format was made helped bring people like Canadian Maverick and Fantastic. You know, Canadian Maverick specifically, for example, was stuck in Rush 3 for the entirety of the semifinal, but was able to climb up into those final spots by flying relatively fast still and consistent and safe. So, you know, with racing, it's not always just about the speed. Survival is key.
Yep. And for this year's Gravity Rush, for those of you guys that are just watching and tuning in for the first time, unfortunately, there is no respawns. Once you crash out, that is unfortunately going to be your race, you know, kind of like in real life, kind of like in an F1 scenario. Like you have to know when to take those risks. You have to know when to take those turns and kind of be aware of your surroundings using that, you know, Tobii eye tracker to look around to see where your opponents are. So that way, you know, you don't have a fatal crash and then come out, you know, at the bottom. So like you said, very well put, Jacqueline. Any mistake can really cost you the race. So, but Tint, final thoughts for you on the finals for our top 6 racers today.
I mean, this was always going to be a tough one. I remember talking to Steve from Laser about this before we even got into the competition and saying, you know, the final 6 was really going to be up in the air because there were 9 racers that I thought had what it took to take those slots. And then one of our racers today wasn't even in my 9. Samtastic kind of came out of left field and showed us all what he could do as a new racer to the scene. So, you know, 10 racers fighting for 6 slots was always going to be dicey. And yeah, we saw Ninjetti get taken out in that last round in you know, a dicey overtake. We saw a Canadian manage to snatch something out of the jaws of possible defeat. Herbie unfortunately did not make it with us today, but I'm rooting for every last one of the guys that are in there because they're all fantastic racers and they're all great guys.
I couldn't agree more. And like Crossy said, these people are not dead, but they will be joining us later today for interviews. So we got Herbie and Splen. We'll be talking a little bit about their journey and preparations about Gravity Rush. Yeah, I that was an awesome segment there, but I had to do it, Crossy. thanks for the
Rip
thanks for
Herbie.
the heads up.
Rip Herbie.
Yes, yes, yes. With Herbie and Splen, we'll be interviewing both today on that journey. So, anyways, let's take a look at our final structure and let's talk about that a little bit because it is a bit interesting. And going into the finals, it's going to be point based. Everybody's going to start at 0. So, we're going to be going into all these tracks here. We're going to be going to Pyro Jump Point, Standing Pyro Jump Point, Miner's Lament, kicking it off with 0G right off the rip. And then, of course, one of my favorite races, the Yadar Valley. I said it right, so I want to get some extra points for that. But and then we jump into Old Vanderval, Rickard Memorial, Skyscraper, which is another interesting one. Actually, a very cool track. And then we're going to head into the PU for Lorville Outskirts. Okay, so for throughout the race, we're going to be racing, of course, again 6 racers in this finals. We have 6 points for first place, and so forth, going down that point structure. But if they go out in lap number 1. If they crash in lap number 1, they're going to get a DNF and get 0 points. So this is going to go on from race 1 all the way to race 6. And then for our last race, which all 3 races are going to be in Lorville Outskirts, which is going to be 6 races, 6 laps, racers, 3 races, 6 laps. We're going to go double points. The longer the race is, the more fatigue is going to come into play. And the more risk these racers are going to have to take in order to find that pacing that they're going to need in order to survive those 6 laps. So this is going to be our tracks and point structure for today. It's going to be a lot of fun. But Tint, right back to you here. What race are you most looking forward to in today's finals?
It's an unpopular opinion, I think, in the racing community at all to like the New Horizons tracks, and so I've taken a lot of heat in the past for Rickard Memorial being one of my favorite racetracks, period. But I'm really excited to see these guys give it what for, because it's you jump into AC and you race it, and you might get 1 or 2 people who are up at that top level and can hang with you, but to see 6 in one go is going to be just
awesome. Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, I haven't seen too much Rickard Memorial, so I'm with you there. I think while I'm still very excited for Yadar Valley, I think that's also up there for the next track for me. But Jacqueline, your thoughts on these tracks? Which one are you excited for today for the finals?
I mean, I have to echo Tint here. Rickard Memorial is not a track that you see very often. It is a track that I've personally grown more and more fond of, especially after Enter Atmosphere last year. It was one of those tracks where if it came up in the Arena Commander matchmaking, I'd be, yeah, I'll do it, no problem. But I never really got that much into it. But after having practiced it and ran it several times, and obviously, having run it with another 5 people at Enter Atmosphere last year, I've grown really fond of it. So it's sad that it's not used a lot. So definitely looking forward to this one here.
Yep. Kranz, your thoughts here on any of these tracks and which one's going to be the one you're looking for to watch for this finals?
I absolutely love Yadar Valley. It's one of my favorite races ever since it come out. I think it's one of the best ones that they did when they started implementing them into the PU, and still sort of stands the test of time. So many different skill sets that you've got to use throughout the entire race. But more importantly than that, the fact that at Lorville we're sort of switching up to like an almost endurance race has me really excited. The idea that every race we've pretty much done has been 2 or 3 laps, right? So not only forcing them to go for a longer race, but then run it back 3 times in a row in the PU, no less. That's gonna be exciting. We'll see how it goes.
All right, same question your way, Cyberfox. What are you looking forward to in these tracks today?
Yeah, I'm sort of echoing Croncy a bit here. I think what you'll find is the racing ships will probably dominate the first few tracks, and then the snubs will start to take over. So Rickard Memorial might be a bit of a battle. Skyscraper will definitely be a battle between the P72s, the snubs, and the racing ships. And then Lorville, like they're all going to be in the same ship. They're all going to be in P72s. So I think we're going to see the biggest battles there, but also the endurance factor. I mean, I've commentated on like endurance style races before, and it just brings next level excitement.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun today. Well, let's take a look at our speed charts today because I didn't talk about it yet, but in this final structure, we're going to be so in the first 6 races, each racer is going to be able to use their own ships. So right now, what has been chosen is that you got Liquid Prime, who's flying the Origin M50. We got Ordito, who is in the P72. Shackler in the P72. You got Jellyhead made in the P72 as well. You got Sam Tastic in the Mariah Razor, and then Canadian Maverick coming back onto that Origin M50. So these are actually all the ships, or we had 7 ships in Gravity Rush that were that you can qualify for, and these are the 7 ships, with the Aurora being one of those ships where for Group Stage 2, everybody had to use it. Everybody was in the same playing field. But this time around, for the last 3 races at Lorville Outskirts, every single person will have to use the P72 because everybody's going to have to be on the same playing field, especially when it comes to double points in play. It looks like the P72 has a lot of advantage in some of these races. So for the last 3, while the first 6 races, everybody's going to be racing with their ships that they qualified for, the last 3 races, we're going to be everybody's going to be taking that P72, and it's going to be an even level playing field across the board. So, CyberFox, going right back to you. How you feel about that structure with these ships, and you have any thoughts about the speeds or any difference, going into the races today?
Yeah, like I said, I think the first few races are going to be dominated by the racing ships just because of the boost meters and the boost tanks. So they've got a lot more that they can use. So those people who have got the racing ships will need to try and get an early advantage, I feel. And those people who are racing, those racers, the pilots who are in the snub ships, have got a slight advantage in the fact that they've been racing this whole tournament in the snub ship, so they're more used to that flight profile.
Yep.
So it gives them a slight advantage during the endurance race. So yeah, I think it remains to be seen how everybody's gonna perform and which ship will perform best. I think the way that this tournament and this final has been structured is exactly to try and make it as even as possible. And yeah, I just think that's a great way to do it.
All right. You know how with some of the racing ships, some styles for, I would say like Sam Stastic, they have more of that drift style where, you're in that, P72, you want to have that, nose pitch quite often, or, be in that position in advance, the way that I've seen some of these Ordito, Shackno, and Jellyhead made it has been racing. So I don't think that drift style is going to work that well. But going over to you, Krancy, any thoughts on these ships and the level of playing field that everybody has to race, the P72 for the last 3 races of the day in the PU?
I mean, well, first off, I think it's no surprise that half of our racers have chosen the P72 for the first 6 races. It's outperformed quite heavily over the course of the entire series, and any ship that Ordito chooses, I'm inclined to believe is probably just the best choice all the time. What I do really hope, though, is that we get to see a little bit from the Mariah Razor. Maybe we can get a little bit back here and push back against the solidified what would you call it, the solidified best ships in the racing series, right? Yeah, not much to say. I'm more of a watch the race guy rather than a stats guy.
All good, no worries. Jacqueline, same question your way with the structure of the ships going into the finals.
Yeah, like everybody's highlighted, I think the first 3 races is going to be quite an even spread, give or take. The snub ships obviously are going to have the limitation of the SCM speeds, whereas the M50 and the Razor are going to have the entire nav capabilities unlocked for them. But it is 0G, right? There's no drag, so it's all a test of speed management, boost management, G control. There's a lot of things going on, whereas the SCM egg within itself has that kind of built-in safety feature where it doesn't let you go too fast. So the snubs have that kind of advantage where they're always within optimal speeds, but then they need that boost to keep up with the others. So on what Croncy said, I think the first 2 races specifically definitely is gonna keep the Razor on par and even at Yedar Valley. But I think once we start hitting Gold Vanderval and Rickard, I think the M50 might start edging out the Razor. And then at one point when we hit to, between Rickard and Skyscraper, I think the P72 then is going to get the advantage. When we move on to the finals, as you've said, we're all going to be, all the racers are going to be in the P72, which it's going to be interesting to see how the racers that have been already using the P72 are going to face off against the guys who have to change. You know, after going through all of these weeks practicing with the M50 or the Razor, to suddenly have to change to the P72 for the very last race of the finals, you know, it adds that bit of, okay, now forget the muscle memory. I'm now in a snub. So, going to be interesting to see that.
Well, it's all for in the fairness of, you know, leveling the playing field across the board. So, Tin, last one to answer here for are going to be used across the structure, and then of course the last 3 races where everybody's going to be in the P72. Any thoughts there?
I think one of the big things that tends to get ignored when we talk about ships and races like this is disaster potential. And so where not only do we see, you know, some advantages and disadvantages in terms of atmospheric density and the way these ships handle those environments, the M50 in any track with atmosphere has a pretty high disaster potential. It's one turn taken at an off angle can send you into a spin. The ship can buck and throw you into a wall. Likewise, on the 0G tracks, however, the P72 has a huge amount of disaster potential because you lose a massive amount of your control the second you run out of boost. And so if these guys push the boost a little too hard trying to keep up, if they're running out of gas at exactly the wrong moment, they're going to eat the side of a checkpoint or a rock or an asteroid or that caterpillar on Miner's Lament that everybody's hit at least once in their life. And, you know, in the context of this scoring structure, that crash is way more disastrous than being a second score. So.
All right. Well, I believe our racers are almost ready, but we're going to take a quick look of our prizes and what these racers are competing for before we jump right over. So we got some incredible prizes. We got first place. We got that incredible Gravity Rush trophy, but the top 3 will be invited, which is the big thing for me, you know, Tint and Jacketed, you know, firsthand Croncy and Cyberfox experiencing a LAN event, which was at Enter Atmosphere 54, which was at the last Citizen Con. Top 3 will be invited to our next ATMO Esports massive LAN event, which will most likely be at the next Citizen Con. So they'll get invited out, you know, trips flown, all that good stuff. And then, of course, the Gravity Rush champion will get a very nice bomber jacket. And then, of course, some digital goodies. They're going to get some medals, and then they're going to get also some equipment as well. So looking forward to that, to see which top 3 is going to be, you know, taking a lot of these prizes home today. So with that being said, I believe our racers are ready. So Croncy, Cyberfox, it's all up to you guys. Take it away.
See you soon, guys. All right, Cyberfox.
Hey, Croncy, how you doing, bro?
It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, where you been? How's life?
Great. I just hate racing, so I just made sure.
Oh yeah, okay.
I wasn't available for the last one. No, I'm excited to be back, and for the finals, no less, which is great. And I'm glad to be back with you doing some commentating. It's always good fun. What I'm not glad to see is this track.
So yeah, this Stanton Pyro jump point, 28 checkpoints in 0G. And the last time we raced it in Gravity Rush, it was quite a surprise. It's obviously the latest track to be added to Arena Commander with the new Master Mode changes. And it's not really in a comfortable place with our racing like flight model at the moment, because it was designed for the mode switches, right? And racers don't really like mode switching. However, during our previous rounds, one of my highlights was seeing Splen dropping from nav mode to SEM mode and then quickly dropping back in, doing that mode switch in this Stanton Pyro jump point, using that strategy to slow himself down, get control of the ship, and then just get off as fast as possible. And it played to his advantage. So I think he was doing this in an M50, and he just ripped. It was an absolute masterclass. So I think this is going to be interesting. I don't think we're going to see that strategy again. It's quite a very high level strategy, quite a bit of a risky...
You can't tease the viewers like that. Here's this really cool strategy, but anyway, no one's going to be using it.
If they do, I will be surprised, because it's very, very high level. It requires like expert level control and discipline. This track does anyway. So I mean, I'm thrilled to see it again. But yeah, it's taken a while for me to warm up to it, for sure.
Yeah, look, at the very least, it's a good change of pace to go to these sort of these racetracks that are maybe a little bit less loved by honestly the community and the devs in one way or another, and see what our racers can bring of it, right? See what they can pull into it, and hopefully now that we're at the finals and we've got the top 6 here, we'll be able to see them do exactly that.
Yeah, and I also love the way sort of what you're getting at is the racers sort of find their optimum lines, their optimum strategies, and quite often that's not what is planned or expected by the devs. So racers quickly found out that if you stay in nav, you can optimize this track. And then I think there was like not a exploit, but like a very quick strategy that was worked out by Billboy, where if you could switch your engines off and switch back to nav really quick, that was faster because of the deceleration from the nav mode switch in master modes. So it's one of those things where the community really plays a part into how these tracks evolve and develop in the persistent universe.
Yeah, that's definitely a very cool aspect of it for sure, and something that anytime we do get new tracks, we always have people sort of scouting all these locations for like, what's like a weird random thing that I can do on this turn that's like a very untypical of like the rest of the races, right? And see how I can not abuse, but not abuse, but just like, you know, here's something weird that normally you wouldn't do that gets me through it. So yeah, going to be exciting to see what everyone can get through today. Now, we have our 6, obviously. So we have Audito, Liquid Prime, Jellyhead, Shaqnu, Maverick, and Samtastic. Who do you think is going to take this first race?
I think this is all down to the M50s. And what we got last time was, I think, Audito DNF'd in one of the previous rounds. So it'll be interesting to see, to make sure that the racers don't overspeed, they don't burn some of the turns. I think it's definitely down to the M50s for this one. So we got Liquid Prime in an M50, we've got Canadian Maverick in M50. So I think those two are going to be really head-to-head. I think Samtastic with the Razor stands a really good chance here as well. So those 3 racing ships for me are going to be the ones leading the pack. And I think Liquid versus Shaqnu is going to be one to watch for this. Liquid versus Canadian Maverick is going to be one to watch for this race.
Yeah, battle of the 2 M50s. It'll be very, very cool to watch. I've got to say, ever since we got the new Kruger ship, I've been falling more and more in love once again with all of our, the Archimedes, the Merle, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm glad to see that we've got a couple of those up here for the first 6 races today. But you can't go past the original StarCitizen Ferrari of the Origin M50, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a very stylish ship, and Splen was talking on another podcast recently about his jacket with Lens Nation, and he said that he bought his red and white and black jacket so that he could style himself after the M50. So I hope somebody talks about that on the interview later today, because he's just embodying the Starship racer profile there, which is quite interesting. And the Kruger is beautiful. I don't know about the fin. I think there's a little bit of confused design language there from my perspective. Is it a boat? Is it a race ship? Who knows?
It looks cool. All right, for all of you fin haters, it looks cool. Okay, and that's all that matters. The discourse has gone too far.
It sounds like our racers are nearly ready. They're just getting themselves set up on the grid. So we're just going to keep entertaining everybody with our interesting chat here. I'm wondering, in terms of the racer facts, we've got a spread here of the different racing orgs. So we got Jellyhead Made from Sanguis Luna, we got Audito from Black Star Racing, we got Liquid Prime from Sanguis Luna as well. So 2 Sanguis Luna racers. We got Shaqnu from XGR, Canadian Maverick from Red, and Samtastic from Legacy Fleet, which is Splen's org as well. So we've got 2 Sanguis Lunas here flying the flag. Does that sound like a good spread to you of the racing orgs that you're familiar with? Are we missing anybody? Do you think that's sort of a fair spread?
I mean, for the most part, but there's always like we've got some of these really, really large race orgs that just go through everything, as in they're doing all the land-based, they're doing all of the sprint and endurance, they're doing all the time trials, right? Sanguis Lunar are one of those groups. Frontier Consolidated Racing or like one of those groups. I would really love to see some of those groups that like just focus on land racing come and give this a go and like jump into the top 6 sort of thing, and sort of see where they land. But for the most part, I think this is an okay spread. We obviously have more racing orgs than we have. Like we have more than 6 top racing orgs, if that makes sense. So you're not going to be able to fully represent everyone, of course. But I am not surprised that Sanguis have 2 spots today.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think in terms of ground racing versus ship racing is far more punishing. It's like learning an instrument, really. You make a mistake, you're out of the race, and it just feels really negative when you're trying to learn something new. So yeah, it's good to see 100%. So many competitors taking up ship racing. It looks like everybody has gotten ready, and they're on the starting line now for the Stanton Pyro jump point. Again, this is a race with 28 checkpoints, and we got our 60-second countdown. So it's quite a long track, and we've got Audito, Shaknu, and Jellyhead Maid in the snubs. So that's the 2 left screens and the one in the top right. And then we got in the center, Liquid Prime and Canadian Maverick in the M50s, and then in the bottom right, Samtastic in the Razor.
Yeah. Now, also keep in mind, this is 6 perspectives we're going to be watching today, so give us a little bit of leeway if we lose some people, but we'll try to keep you updated as much as we can over the course of the race, how it's going. We're going to be getting started in just a second. We got 30 seconds on the clock. Cyberfox, I'm back. Do you mind if I take the first countdown today?
I'll be delighted. It's all for you. It's all your honor.
Fantastic. All right, we'll get there in just a moment. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
And it looks like Liquid Prime and Canadian Maverick are taking the lead. I don't know if Audito's just splashed out.
Yeah, it seemed like Audito was the first one out of the gate, but then seemed to have disappeared from what we could tell there pretty quickly. Looks like Audito is still on the board, but maybe a little bit further back now than they were right at the start.
Yeah, this is an interesting track because we've got some very small checkpoints that you've got to navigate between. And so just I think the start is probably the most dangerous, but it looks like we've got a spread now. Samtastic is moving around again. I think it's just missed one of the checkpoints. And what did you just spot?
I believe that was a collision from Shaknu that I just saw, and a reset quickly as they come around.
Yeah, Shaknu's got a DNF. That was a good spot.
So very unfortunate there.
Looks like Liquid Prime is got this track very, very well practiced. He and I think Jellyhead Maid are speeding ahead at this moment. Liquid Prime moving sideways, drifting through this slalom style part of the track. This is the SCM style part of the track. Yeah. And you can see him lining up his TVI, his velocity indicator, to the next checkpoint, using his mains to bring it back into line. And so the drift is really when he's got his hands off the controls almost. So he lines his ship up and then pushes forward with his mains to get the ship through the keyhole. And nice and controlled by Liquid. Really, the M50 is doing fantastic. Oh, a little bit overspeeding here. I was just saying the M50 is doing fantastic for control in this race, and then yeah, Liquid overshoots a little bit. Jellyhead Maid just a little bit behind by the looks of it.
Yeah, luckily for Liquid Prime, still relatively far ahead. Like you just said, Jellyhead also coming around through the finish line just right now with Audito right on top of each other, actually. So yeah, we've actually got a bit of a race here for second and third. And because of the point structure that we have for today's event, like really you just want a top 3 as many of the races as you possibly can today. You know, a 1 difference point is obviously going to matter, but it's not going to matter as much as it might have in the group stages.
Yeah, I think we just saw somebody overtake Jellyhead Maid as well. So it looks like Snubs are struggling a little bit now that the race is getting further on. Samtastic has just DNF'd. Looks like he might have collided with a checkpoint. And you can see Jellyhead Maid is keeping up. You can see the ship trail in front of him. Very exciting to watch watch the exhaust fumes of the ship that's leading the pack. And Jellyhead Maid just keeping up, really pushing it, keeping the pressure on, keeping the competition hot, and making sure that he puts in a good time.
So yeah, big fight here between Jellyhead and Nordito. Liquid Prime still relatively far out in front. Really curious to see what's going to happen here between Ord and Jelly as we come into the slalom section down here at the bottom. Oh, that was cutting it very tight there, Jellyhead. And a little bit of an over correction there, unfortunately. So Nordito is going to be able to get some distance here.
Yeah, very interesting that you can overshoot in the snub ship in these sorts of races, because again, you have to use that boost to try and keep under control, especially when you have to change direction. So it's more about velocity management more than anything in these 0G tracks. It's an added complexity, because you don't have the ATMO to grip and bite upon. So you got to bring your ship back under control using the mains, using the boosts to keep your nose pointed in the right direction. Not very much nose authority without a lot of speed.
Yep, definitely. Now, Liquid Prime is going to be our first winner today, winner of our race number 1, with a solid, I think that was a 153 for their second lap. Ordito is going to be our second to cross the finish line, and now we just have Jellyhead and Maverick left on the board.
This is interesting as well, because Liquid has set a really good standard for our 0G races. I did say that the M50s would be my favored ship in the 0G tracks. So Liquid Prime confirming that. Really impressed with Ordito, just keeping it stylish, keeping it smooth. But a little bit of struggling from both of them. Ordito and Jellyhead Maid did struggle in these 0G tracks a little bit, and I feel like what we're going to see next in the following race will be similar as well. So if we can make sure that we don't have any more DNFs, then hopefully we'll see the M50s still, the racing ships still coming out on top. We got Miner's Lament next.
Yes.
And yeah, really impressed that the snub ships have managed to keep up, stay on track, stay on target, and just survive the race.
Speaking of surviving, Maverick also has crossed the finish line there, picking up a 4th place position with a very, very solid performance there. So a great race. What a good fight between Jellyhead and Nordito. Just very unfortunate that Jellyhead with that one overcorrection coming into the slalom that sort of just solidified it for second place for Nordito. And that's race number 1. We're going to move to race number 2.
Yeah, so Miner's Lament as the race gets started and they get set up. It's a tough track to practice because it's completely disorientating, of course. And the world records are set by Ordito here, I think, about 9 months ago. And it's interesting because obviously practiced trial racers, putting down times along with Jellyhead Maid, putting down world record times all of the time. And this is like an extra challenge for them. Jellyhead Maid has 33 world records where he's a top 3 racer. And he flies a snub similar times to the M50 in 0G. He put on an excellent performance with Yadar Valley in the last round, which is famously low Atmo as well. And he came about in the last round with 6 wins and 0 DNFs. And we could see his survival instincts coming out in this race. So Miner's Lament, I think, in terms of the ships, in terms of the racers, we got Jellyhead Maid again with these 33 world records, his time trial knowledge. I think he's going to do quite well in this next track, despite being in a snub ship. And I think the same for Ordito. I think they've got an advantage in the fact that they've just been practicing and putting in the time.
Yep, definitely. So let's have a look at Miner's Lament as we head on into a lovely 0G race here. One that's it seems to be a 0G favorite for a lot of racers out there. Is sort of the consensus that I get a lot of the time. It's got some really fun turns. It's got a lot of really cool straights.
Oh, what's that show with the puppets where he's doing the secret signal and waving his arms all about? It's kind of like that all over the place with all the checkpoints in all of the different directions. I feel like with the M50s, so Liquid, Canadian Maverick, I want them to survive because they should really dominate this track. And Samtastic in the Razor, if he can make sure that he doesn't collide with any of the debris, with the caterpillar that's there, or with any of the asteroids, they should really be the ones to dominate. But again, I'm still torn because Audito and Jellyhead have put in the practice, they've put in the time to make them really competitive racers.
Yeah, for sure. So now, you know my next question, as always, as we get into this race. So we did just see Liquid Prime pick up the first place of the day. How's Miners Lament going to go? Where are you putting your... I'll go even further. Where's your top 3 for this race prediction?
Well, I do know that Jellyhead hates zero-G racing and Audito likes it. So
Okay.
I'm gonna place Audito ahead of Jellyhead, but I think I'm gonna place Liquid. I think I'm gonna place Liquid ahead because of the M50 advantage. Where the rest of the pack fall out, Canadian Maverick, Samtastic, Shaknu, I'm not sure. I think there's going to be a lot of battling in between. But yeah, top 3, I'd say Liquid, followed by Audito, followed by Jellyhead. What about you?
I think that's a very fair call, especially after what we just saw. Obviously, we had Shaknu and Samtastic with some early DNFs last race. We didn't really get to see them sort of fully pull off how they were going, but I would love to... I'm basically the same route as you. I think we're probably looking at a Liquid Prime, Audito, Jellyhead, but I would love to see another big fight between Audito and Jellyhead again, like we had in the last race. But hopefully this time the battle's a bit more not fair. I'm trying to think of the word. Less unfortunate. Where it really does come down to the tightness of the turns and your acceleration, rather than just like one mistake, because that's always a really unfortunate way to lose a battle. Or want to see some of that. So we'll see if we're right. Otherwise, we're going to be completely wrong. Maverick's just going to crush it and absolutely smash everyone. That'd be great.
Well, the thing is I think the drifty flying style does have a bit of an advantage here, because the main thrust of dominance means more flying sideways and using the mains to push the TVI around the bends. So yeah, this gives a big advantage to those racers utilizing head tracking as well, because they're able to look out the side of the ship and maintain visibility on the checkpoint and on TVI, which is crucial. So it's all about managing your speed, managing the direction that you're flying in. Obviously, racing, point your ship in the right direction, right? Seems pretty simple, but yeah, going sideways, decoupled mode is actually quite tricky, I feel. Have you ever tried this race yourself?
Oh my god! So when this came out, obviously I had to give every new racetrack a go. I could not get it. It's if you're used to atmospheric racing for like the longest amount of time, you just smash into every single asteroid, every single antenna. Like, you would think a big open space like this, there's not many hazards, but oh no, when you can't actually turn the ship at all because you've come way too fast around a corner, you'll just smash into everything. So I personally have so much disdain for this track, but I love watching people who are really good at this track. I think it's one of the best viewer experience tracks because it's so cool. It looks so cool. If you know what you're doing, it looks really cool.
I think that plays well into the lore of the track as well, because obviously in the lore it was the home of a tragic mining disaster in 2868 with a construction company, and they decided to turn this into an obstacle course. It looks like our racers are ready. Decided to turn this into an obstacle course, and there's like a viewing platform outside Grim Hex as well. So I think it is very much a race that people like to watch in verse as well as in real life.
Yeah, 100%. You're right on the money. So the 1 minute countdown starting, which means I'm gonna give you this one this time. Let's hear in chat, who do you think is going to take race number 2? If you missed race number 1, we had Liquid Prime in first place, Audito in second, Jellyhead in third, Maverick in fourth, and then we had a DNF from Shaknu and Samtastic, which the biggest point spread of the event today is going to happen from DNFs because of the way that we've organized this tournament. So DNFs are a big hit to your points. So yeah.
Yeah, it looks like we've got our 30-second countdown now. Shaknu and Audito and Liquid. I mean, what way is the right way up? They're all orientated in different ways on the grid. So going to be interesting to see them just survive the first few checkpoints.
Very much so.
And it looks like we should be ready to kick off.
I believe in you.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go.
And we are off. There we go. Looks like Liquid Prime is the first out of the gate. We've got a little bit of signature masking there, but I think Audito is just behind them. And then we've got Maverick somewhere, I believe somewhere in the middle of the pack. So we'll get a better idea of where everyone's at once we get a little bit further in.
Yeah, it looks like Jellyhead Made, again, is keeping up. He's got 2 streams in front of him. Samtastic as well, looking like they're really close behind the leaders of the pack. But Liquid Prime taking that early lead, coming nicely around, drifting around this asteroid here on the right-hand turn. Very nicely controlled. Again, pointing his ship in the direction that he wants to go and using his main thrusters to bring the TVI on target. Lining up for the next one before he even goes through the checkpoint, going through that one backwards. And now got to go through a keyhole. Got to go through the middle of an asteroid while going round a corner. So this is going to be one of the trickiest, most technical turns of this track. This is where I always mess up. And he pulls it through.
Just beautifully. Just absolutely beautifully. It's such a cool section to look at, and you can just see the masterfulness and the just the knowledge that that Liquid has of this track and the skills that are acquired there. So we've got Liquid in first currently, followed by Jellyhead, but I believe it was Audito. So Jellyhead and Audito might be on top of each other at the moment. In fact, we're seeing a bunch of switching. Jellyhead from 2 to 3 to 4 to 3. So lots of position pushing here. It looks like Maverick also in that conversation, but Liquid Prime well and truly ahead as they approach lap number 2.
Yeah, and it looks like we had a very unfortunate DNF from Shaknu hitting an invisible structure a little bit early on while we were watching Liquid Prime go through that keyhole. So obviously sometimes there are some additional obstacles in the game that aren't quite expected, some desync and so on and so forth. But yeah, it looks like Jellyhead Made keeping his ship under nice control here. He's got only half of his boost meter under use at the moment, which is a really good strategy, making sure he only uses it while he's going around those corners to keep himself on target. Whereas Audito is running a bit more into the red, so each time he goes round a corner, he uses more of that boost meter, and it might not be there when he needs it. It's a bit of a risky strategy with Audito there. Zooming into Canadian Maverick, again, nice control, using that sideways drifty style to his advantage here, lining up each checkpoint, pointing his nose in the right direction, using his mains to carry on where he needs to go. He's clearly practiced this track, using the M50 in a beautiful flying style here, I feel. And it's a bit of a figure of 8 as well. We just saw one of the snub ships fly past him in a different direction.
Yeah, I believe that was Audito that was just ahead of them. Audito, Maverick, and Jellyhead, when they approached lap number 2, were within 5 seconds of each other between those 3, and it's been looking like there's a lot of back and forth between them within that as well. So Audito, oh no, Maverick with the collision into the side of the asteroid. Audito coming past. That is rough. Maverick was absolutely crushing lap number 2. That is very unfortunate.
Yeah, that's such a shame. We were just talking about how composed he was, and yeah, what a surprise that just happened.
We did get a great view of Audito coming around the corner to witness the explosion, though, which is always lovely. So Audito now heading towards the finish line. Jellyhead with a bit of an overturn there, so losing some time here. It looks like Samtastic may be able to get back here and make up some of that distance from earlier. Never mind, it's a little bit too far. So Audito is going to get second place. Jellyhead in third. Pretty much exactly what we said the top 3 was going to be prior to the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And Samtastic just picking up the last few points on the board, looking like he's just going to cross the finish line now. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I noticed that Jellyhead Maid and Audito, as they were crossing the finish line, they had completely exhausted their boost meters for that last final lap.
Mhm.
So managing to keep it on the red for that entire race, Audito was really fantastic race. And yeah, some really good times as well here. Quite a large spread, quite a large gap between Liquid and the rest of the pack, but otherwise very
Yes.
consistent racing from our pilots.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate. We were watching Maverick and this amazing battle between Maverick, Audito, and Jellyhead of constant position switching over the first lap and then at the start of the second. And then that unfortunate kill that you yourself said that's where you crash into every time, right? Cyberfox. That's the one that gets
Every
you.
time.
So, every time. Cyberfox has never finished a lap on that track. So
I would be surprised if I had,
now we're
honestly.
moving-
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're moving to my personal favorite race of the day, which is Yadar Valley. I have spent and wasted many, many hours on this track, both completing laps and crashing. So very, very excited to see us back here once again for some really top-notch racing.
What I'm excited about as well for this race, as we get closer to gravity, the snub ships have more of an advantage as the gravity gets thicker, and this is our lowest gravity of all tracks, but it's our first in ATMO. And Audito and Jellyhead Maid, not only have they been keeping the pressure and been keeping up with the race ships in 0G, which is just phenomenal in its own right, but Audito and Jellyhead Maid both have the top time trial times of this track as well, both in M50s though, not in snub ships. 44 seconds and 45 seconds for a single hot lap. So I do know that Audito and Jellyhead Maid know this track like the back of their hand, are going to be keeping the pressure on Liquid Prime for this.
Yeah, it's going to be a one hell of a race. I absolutely love this one. Very excited to see. Like we've now had basically 2 back-to-back finishes where the exact same thing has happened, right? So we've had almost the exact same thing has happened. Sorry, where we've had 2 DNFs followed by the exact same top 3. Seeing if that's going to evolve here for race number 3. Remember, we're doing 9 races today, everyone at home, so we got a lot to get through. Lots of chances for some of our races to come back, but yeah, interested to see if that top 3 changes as we get into this one, as we're now in a different world, right? We're finally in atmosphere.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said about the overtaking spots here, because again, you've got to manage your boost meter, you've got to manage your tank, you've got to make sure that you don't overcook it, and use all of your boost if you're in a snub ship before you get to the end of the first lap, because there's 3 laps to go, right? So yeah, you're going to be looking for those moments where you can squeeze by, the moments in the corners that you can boost and get an advantage against those racing ships. Where if you're in a snub ship, so I'm going to be looking for Audito and Jellyhead Maid. They're probably going to be running like a time trial line, and that itself is a little bit risky because it doesn't leave much room for maneuvering. So it might be that Audito and Jellyhead Maid, if they come head to head, might end up causing each other problems.
Yep. I mean, that would be interesting to have during our top 6, a collision based on like fighting for position, right? Fighting for your angle, approaching a turn or something is always interesting. It's always unfortunate you want everyone to finish the race, but it does make things a little bit interesting. Now, during the group stages, for me, this was one of those races that was just insanely fun to watch how people approached heaven, because I feel like even the best races still have some different degrees of angle that they'd like to go for, different approaches for how they recover once they come out of it and head into the slalom. I love it. I just love this track for so many reasons, but watching how even our top 6 are going to approach this today is going to be a good point. What's your favorite section of this track that you think will be a bit entertaining today?
So I get really confused by the basically the first corner, Drifter's Hideout, because they tend to cut the bounds of the track and go over some of the rocks to get through there, and that's a really tight squeeze for me. And then when you come out of the gate going Stairway to the Heaven, the checkpoint at Stairway, I'm pretty sure that this is the part that you like as well. I'm pretty sure they have to fly through the corner of the stairway checkpoint, which is like a flag. So they fly through a flag to get up to heaven. And that always, you know, that gets my skin tingling. That gives me goosebumps because it's like, it's really immersive for one thing. But you think, you know, there's no collision at the moment, but perhaps one day that might be an issue. Maybe somebody can rip the flag out from the checkpoint, and maybe it might get stuck to the windscreen. You can see it there in the bottom left of this of the flyover, just there. But yeah, they always cut these corners really tight on this track, and so for me, yeah, the stairway I think is an interesting checkpoint, and Drifter's hideout through. Through the architecture of the rocks there. You've obviously got to dodge a rock on Dealer's Choice as well. And yeah, I got to say that, like, every corner, there's a story for every corner of this race. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. It's I just love it so much. It was a really good way for them to sort of take what they learnt about Snake Pit, which obviously largely a community-based designed track, and then to sort of learn from that and learn what the racers want in a race, and see what they could do with it, right? I just love this track so much.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is also, you know, the racers' muscle memory. So they've practiced and practiced and practiced this track. They can essentially fly a blind. And I think that's the point where it becomes most enjoyable. Again, coming back to, you know, learning how to race in StarCitizen is really punishing. But it's like learning an instrument, like learning to ride a bike. Once you got the hang of it, once you can use that muscle memory, it becomes like just riding a roller coaster. It just becomes really thrilling. So it's great to see the cockpit seats of these expert pilots, and I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like just watching makes me a better pilot, and then I could try and emulate it when I come to do this track myself, and not do quite as well, but you know, I could try.
I mean, I 100% agree with you. A lot of the races that we've had over the course of the entire series, watching from the racer's perspective, you do still learn quite a lot, right? Because you get to learn where they're looking for their next, whatever their next turn is, especially like we just watched these two no atmosphere races, and there's a lot of that, obviously, as they anticipate their next turn. And that is really easy to replicate. What might not be so easy to replicate is getting it consistently, or, you know, where your speed's at when you're doing that sort of stuff. But it teaches you a lot, and I'm certainly thankful for it. So here we go. Looks like we're on the starting line, getting ready to go now. Audito, Liquid Prime, Jellyhead Maid, Shaknu, Maverick, and Samtastic on the starting line.
And it's you to take the countdown on this one as well. 60 seconds before we begin the race.
It is. And remember, after this race, we're going to be throwing it back to the desk to talk a little bit about the 3 races that you've just watched. So make sure you stick around for that one. But of course, we've got this race to go through too. So let us know, who are you guys going for? I forgot to do a prediction. I think Maverick's going to win, because that's really fast and easy for me to say. And also true, because we just saw Maverick absolutely crush in the last race, just with a very unfortunate section there. So I'm hoping that Maverick crushes this one. 30 seconds to go. It's going to be a good one. Shaknu showing off. Alrighty, here we go. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
And it looks like Liquid and Audito getting an early lead. Jellyhead Maid pulling up behind them. I think it's all going to come out to this first corner before we get the spread. Has Audito... No, Audito's coming out ahead.
Yeah.
Liquid Prime battling him. Jellyhead Maid now in 3rd place. Coming around for the 3rd or 4th checkpoint now. Going sideways, Liquid Prime.
There you go. You can see Audito, Liquid Prime, and Jellyhead Maid right on top of each other. Audito in the lead currently, but right on top is Liquid Prime as they go through heaven into the slalom. Almost reading out there, coming back through for Audito.
Yeah, the battle really is between Liquid, Audito, and Jelly at the moment, with Liquid so close in the lead. Or is he in the lead, or is it Audito? I think they're battling back and forth. It looks like Audito at the moment.
Yes.
And yes, Audito
Yeah,
passing the start-finish line. Just incredible. Again, the snubs keeping the pressure on the M50 racer as well. Just amazing. And Jellyheadmade pulling in third, Shaknu in fourth. And it looks like Samtastic has just missed the checkpoint, rolling back around, and Canadian Maverick might have DNF'd.
Unfortunately, yes, that is a DNF for Maverick. But what a huge run there as they came into lap number 2. The difference between first and third was 3 seconds. So right on top of each other, you can see Audito has extended the lead quite a bit here, but Liquid Prime and Jellyhead still battling it out here for second place. This is going to be very important for Jellyhead to try to push a little bit ahead and get some points back from those first few races that we've had. Liquid Prime showcasing
Liquid
the great
doing like a
reverse
360.
Yep.
That's insane. Audito looks like he's just right on the edge.
Yep.
Redding out. Shaknu also redding out. They're flying sideways. Jellyheadmade flying sideways.
Yeah, these are some incredibly fast runs here.
Shaknu pulling a 180 over the geometry and around that corner as well. Really fantastic. Really pushing it. Whoa, cutting it really fine as well.
So Jellyhead has managed to get ahead of Liquid Prime, but not by much. They're right on top of each other. You can also see Shaknu here, who I've got to imagine is just behind them as well. So we actually have got a little bit of a closer fight. Shaknu's been able to come back a little bit. Ooh, some lovely maneuvering there as they come through the back end of the slalom.
Shaknu cutting this corner really tight. Did he undercut the other racer? And he's been overtaken again. It's a back and forth. He's overshot. Oh, he's just pushed it too hard.
Yeah, with that attempt to push ahead of Liquid Prime, unfortunately goes out of the, just oversteers and gets around there. So very unfortunate. So that's going to be Audito in first place. Handedly held that for the whole race, but did have to fight it off in that first lap. Jellyhead and Liquid Prime with some big battles in lap number 2 and 3. And then Shaknu with that big push there at the end, but not quite working out. But still able to pick up a 4th place position. Samtastic is going to be, I believe, in 5th, possibly. So yeah, there we go. That's where we are sitting at after the first 3 races. Cyberfox, we've got 6 more races on the way. It's a great way to start. Let's head it back over to the desk and hear about, what exactly went on. What's been going on these last 3 laps?
All right, we are back, and man, that was some action here in the first 3 races. But we have the amazing talent here, our analyst Tint and Jacket, who's going to help us break down each single race one by one. But before we break things down, it's already spicy. We'll give you guys an update in points here in a little bit, but right after we break down the races. But let's kick it off with Stanton Pyro Jump Point. Tint, I'm going straight to you here on this one. Tell us a little bit about that first initial race where we see Liquid Prime taking that first place spot.
Yeah, we saw, I don't think there were any massive surprises here other than Shaknu getting taken out by some desync related crashing. I went ahead and pinged him a quick DM to confirm that. And yeah, he's apparently been struggling a little bit with desync here. So that's what took him out of the race. I enjoyed seeing Samtastic came in really, really hot at the beginning of the race, but unfortunately wasn't quite able to handle that amount of speed coming into the back half. Missed a checkpoint and wound up kind of scrambling to recover. But seeing the snubs go toe-to-toe with the M50s is absolutely something to watch.
All right. Well, I totally agree. And Samtastic, unfortunate couple DNFs here, but I think still, pretty strong to continue moving forward. We still got 6 more races to go, but shooting it right over to you, Jacqueline. How do you feel about this initial first race here in Stanton Pyro Jump Point?
Yeah, it was a really good opener and just a taste to see what 0G is really all about. We got to see both from what it's like to be in SCM and what it's like to be in nav mode, where the snubs have to keep that perfect control of their vector, because every time they let go of the boost, their vector is not you don't have the same level of control over your vector as you do when you're at full boost or non-boosted whatsoever. So we got to see how they control it, and Liquid and Ordito were on each other the entire time. That was a really, really nice race from them. And from Liquid, awesome control of the M50, honestly. Like, when I was looking at his screen, the speed control that he had was phenomenal. Funnily enough, when the commentators were actually talking about his speed control, he did kind of overshoot a little bit. But other
Yeah.
than that, he was always at the right speed at the right time, and didn't even need to use the SCM break that much. So actually, I think on stand-up power jump point, might not have used it at all. But yeah, like, phenomenal speed control from Liquid for that one.
Awesome. Well, for race number 1, we had, again, Liquid Prime in first place, gaining those 6 initial points. We had Ordito in second, gaining those 5. We had Jelly Headmade in third place, getting those 4 points. Unfortunately, we had Shacknu DNF. And then we had Canadian Maverick in fourth place with, awarding 3 points. And then Samtastic with another DNF in that Mirai Razor. So going into race number 2, where we saw Liquid Prime back-to-back take a couple races there, of course, in 0G with Miner's Lament here in the Origin M50. Like you guys mentioned, no surprises there. But let's jump right into it. Right back to you, Jacqueline, for Miner's Lament. What do you see there that you thought was interesting that maybe made it a little bit different?
Well, for one, Miner's Lament and the M50 go hand in hand, in my opinion. And I mean, Liquid Pride showed this in spades. You can just push the ship. I mean, in my experience, M50 generally sitting anywhere between 400 to 600 meters per second. You can practically do any corner cleanly. But there are 2 spots where you can really push it and use the SCM brake to just slow yourself down enough to take the corner at a lower speed, right? So we saw Liquid do this in the straight going before the keyhole, and also just over the caterpillar. You have a bit of a straight there where you can just push it and you find the break point and you swap over to SCM, and by the time nav comes up, you're already clear. It's used it flawlessly there. Fantastic stuff. We also saw a couple of crashes because of the SCM issue there. So I noticed that Semtastic, I believe, opted to fly the majority, if not all, of the track in SCM mode, and did get caught out because of that vector lock on the keyhole exit. So sad to see. I believe Shacknu also ended up colliding with a little bit of invisible collision. Miner's Lament is known to have one corner just after the caterpillar that the rock in online mode is visually displaced. So they're there, but like it's there. So I think that's how he got caught out. I'm to be corrected though, but yeah, honestly, just really enjoyed Miner's Lament. I love this track.
Yeah, that's definitely one covered 0G tracks for a fact. That one's actually a lot of fun, going through that keyhole, getting those challenges and pushing through that. Actually, definitely a lot of fun, and it kind of forces, like you mentioned, having people to switch, and there are consequences for not switching from that SCM mode to that nav mode. So, Tin, your thoughts on Miner's Lament here for these 6 finalists?
Yeah, it was a really good race all around. I was really impressed with Canadian managing to sort of keep pace up until he unfortunately had a pancake moment at the keyhole. He was also using that SCM brake tactic, and I think maybe have triggered it a little bit too late for that second lap. And it happens to the best of us. You just unfortunately find a wall. And it was good to see, I think, Samtastic sort of reining in that sort of super high energy approach and just going for getting points on the board, flying clean, up there. But obviously the structure of minors makes the snubs, I think, a little bit more interesting here, just because there are so many sections where the M50s are forced to slow down a little bit to handle the corners. So it was nice to see that kind of back and forth where we saw Maverick pushing ahead of a couple of snubs and then them catching up in the corners and pushing forward again.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think race 2 was definitely more interesting. But again, like I mentioned, Liquid Prime getting that other 6 points here. And then Ordito coming back again in second, awarding another 5, especially in the P72 in a 0G map. And then Jelly Headmade comes in third with another 4 points. And then Canadian Maverick did DNF, but he DNF'd after lap 1, so still was awarded 2 points, coming in 5th place. And then Samtastic took 4th place, awarding himself with 3. Shaqnu, unfortunately, DNFing. I think Shaqnu, maybe dealing with a little bit of desync, like you mentioned there, Tint. So hopefully he can kind of bounce back from that in general, and hopefully start putting some points on the board in these next races, because we're starting to see a little bit of a separation of the top of the pack. But we'll go ahead and kind of talk about the progress and how many points everybody has here after this. So, sorry, I kept saying Yadar Valley. We're going right into it, where we definitely saw, the P72s come out to play and definitely take a better lead across the board, because that one is not, a 0G map. It's more a little bit atmospheric. But give us your thoughts on Yadar Valley.
I mean, I think this one's going to go down as my heartbreak of the night. I don't want to jinx it, but seeing Shaqnu coming from the back of the pack in what I can only describe as a full press, speeding his way towards the front of the group, and even contending for second place towards the end there, was absolutely brilliant to watch. I think if we get his recording of that and just run it back, that's a masterclass on how to get every last drop out of the P72 on this track. Again, disheartening to see Maverick struggling with consistency in collisions, but them's the breaks. And Samtastic going out super early is not, I think, super surprising. This is one of the Razor's sort of weaknesses on this track, is that you've got to be pushing so hard to get the full aerodynamic profile of the ship in play, so that you can make those corners in sort of the tight precision racing lines that we expect.
Yeah, that was very, very well said there. Jacketing right over to you on Yadar Valley, and kind of piggybacking off what Tint said on just seeing Shaqnu try to make that play and try to come from behind.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the way these racers were taking the turns with the P72 is probably what ended up being the downfall for Shaqnu here, because everyone was opting to just use the kind of like the dolphin dive maneuver, for where they kept the ship in the same orientation and they tried to nose down and up. But for that to work, you need to either have the speed to get that arrow, as Tint was saying, or otherwise you have to slow yourself down enough for your thrusters to be able to counteract the lack of atmosphere that there was, right? So we saw Ordito, for example, just immediately off the line, just fought straight for first place, and just kept the lead and just kept extending. Liquid Prime, I really enjoyed the lines that he was taking through Heaven down into I forgot what the drop part is, but yeah, that part is very important to get right, and I really enjoyed his line. And also have to commend the reactive thinking there, because I believe on his third lap, he went down too low to the ground, ending up having to correct himself too much, so much that on the last turn, he had to do a 360 just to stop, and that was really beautiful to see. It wasn't his ideal line, I believe, going through that, but the fact that he noticed the mistake, said, "I'm not going to make the turn the same way I was doing," did that 360, slowed down, and continued there. Really awesome stuff. I love to see that kind of reactive play.
Yeah, going up from Heaven, I think, down to those points where you really have to adjust quickly and make sure you manage your boost appropriately. It's probably one of my favorite parts of Yadar Valley. But in this results of this race specifically, we had Ordito coming out in first place, awarding him 6 points. And then we had in second Jellyhead Made with 5, Liquid Prime in third for 4 points, Shaqnu coming in fourth for 3 points, and then Canadian Maverick, even though he did DNF past, after lap 1, was able to get those points and I believe land 2 points there for Samtastic. And then Canadian Maverick, unfortunately, DNF before finishing the initial lap, so that's at 0 points. So right now, as you can see on the board, we have a total of Ordito in first place with 16 points, Liquid Prime 16 points, Jelly Had Made with 13, Canadian Maverick with 5, Samtastic with 5, and Shaqnu trailing towards the end, something that I honestly didn't expect. But if there is that desync issue, then I can totally understand. But towards the end in 6th place with 3 points. There's still 3 more races to come to kind of come up. We still have a lot of racing to do, so there's easily a chance for any of these racers that are in the bottom 3 to gain some headway and catch up to the people that are in that top 3. So, but Pyro Jump Gateway, we had the fastest lap is going to be, I believe, is going to be Liquid Prime with 153. And then you're going to have Miner's Lament, again, Liquid Prime with a 132, and then Yadar Valley or Dito at 52 seconds. So, but coming up, we have Old Vandervool. We got, both of yours favorite track. We got Record Memorial, which is what you guys wanted to see. And then we have Skyscraper, which is another interesting one that I'm very excited about. So with that being said, we should be almost ready for our next races here. So very excited for that, guys. Those are going to be your totals, guys, in your chat. If whether you're watching from YouTube, X, or Twitch, make sure you guys are rooting for your favorite racer. Make sure you guys are cheering them on, showing them some love. And with that being said, let's give it back over to both Croncy and Cyberfox so they can take it away on these next 3 races coming up.
Well, hello again, Croncy. How's it going?
Howdy. Good. I love
So-
this style of commentating because I get a nice little, 10-minute break where I get to just run around the house for a while. It's great.
Well, previously, Crucian and I had to commentate all the way through because you weren't here, so we didn't get to feel this nice break. And who's responsible for that, Croncy? Just calling
Definitely
you out
my
there.
unborn child. It is their fault. But anyway, no. I'm very
No, it
excited
is
to be
nice.
back here, and we're at a classic, Old Vanderval. Yeah, if you are not familiar with this racetrack, that's crazy because you should be. This is, I believe, the oldest in the game.
I think it's one of the oldest in the game. I'm not familiar because I wasn't a StarCitizen racer back in the early days when racing was brought into the game. However, I do know that this was our qualifier track.
Mhm.
So those who had to put down times for the Gravity Rush event, they put down times on Old Vandervool, and I've got the times right here. And in fact, Liquid Prime came in first in the M50 with 44 seconds, followed by Jellyhead Maid and Ordito in that order with 45 seconds in the P72.
Wow.
Literally less than half a second between them.
Mhm.
And then it's Shaknu with 46 seconds in the P72, followed by Canadian Maverick in the M50 with 47 seconds, and Samtastic with the Razor in 51 seconds. And obviously these are the ships that they qualified in. It's the ships that they're racing today. So in terms of prediction, this might be a good prediction to go on because this is the time that they put down. However, they raced these solo. Qualifying times were 1 lap.
Yes.
We've now got to do 3 laps, and they've got to battle each other through these tiny keyhole checkpoints, which could cause a lot of problems, especially if they're battling for the same lines. So although we know the qualifying times, it might all look completely different after these 3 laps.
Yeah, these racetracks are very cool, and they've gone through a couple of iterations, but they do still, at least to myself, feel like they are designed for time trial. They are designed for you to just get on not one-on-one, just one racer and just run it as many times as you possibly can. And so actually having the environment where you are racing against other people, it's obviously going to be a different story. But it is cool to see, at least with those qualifying times, just how close the entirety of the top 6 are, right? And really prove why they are the top 6 and what they're doing here and how they've sort of, I guess, progressed over the series.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I find this track really disorientating. It used to be in 0G, but now has gravity, but there's still very few, it's very confusing. there's very few visual references because you've got to go round a building in order to get to the next checkpoint. So a lot of these checkpoints are like hidden. You have to go up, do a 180, and then dive down to the next one. So you can't really see it. You've got to be really practiced. Got to know exactly where you're rolling to. You got to try not to black out. You got to boost pretty much the whole way because the turns are so tight. They're like 180 degrees, 150 degrees. They're quite sharp turns. So I think, yeah, you've got a lot to fight with on this track. And I got to say, it's not the most friendly to learn.
No, definitely not. But one of the not friendly to learn, but it's like all some of the things that you mentioned where it's like, you know, you're not necessarily able to see the next turn and whatnot. That sort of stuff is a little bit easier to learn. It is a bit of a shorter track. There are obstacles in your sightline, like quite heavily, I guess, and that does become a bit of an issue. But once you've run it a few times, you get a bit of an idea of exactly where they want you to go. It just becomes about actually doing it fast, and that takes a lot of practice, especially on this track.
Yeah, absolutely. And the M50 in particular, it needs speed to cut and grab the air. So the faster you go, the more agile you can be. It's the same with the snubs, really. It's not for the faint of heart, and it's not for beginners. So you're going to see these racers pushing it to the limits in order to just stay on track, really. And it looks like they are on the grid. It looks like they are ready to go. They're lining up for the first turn. Most of them you can see are leaning on the right because they know that the first corner is a right-hand side turn as well. So yeah, getting ready to pitch roll into that.
Yeah. Now this is a big 3 races for Shaqnu, Maverick, and Samtastic, as they were not able to get past the 10-point mark in that first 3 races. So they're all looking to pick up the first or second place in a couple of these runs here. Meanwhile, Audito and Liquid Prime both currently on 16 points. So we're already starting to get this little fight happening up the top end here that we're going to watch evolve. So make sure if you're watching at home that you're having a look at some of these races and trying to see, you know, where can everyone fit and where can everyone end up before we head to Lawville, which, as a reminder, is double points. So this is everything can change literally in the final PU race.
Yeah, and it looks like we are just under 60 seconds to do a countdown. It looks like they are seated and ready. And 30 seconds to go, just waiting for the official time.
Yep, now it's your turn again. So let's see how we go here. You were memed a little bit by some of our production crew the last timer. So good luck. And good luck to our competitors.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go!
Alrighty, we're well.
It looks like
off. Looks like Audito. Yeah, absolutely smashing it right out of the line.
Liquid just being overtaken.
By
Canadian
Jellyhead,
Mavericks
I
just
believe
DNF'd.
that was it? Yes. Sorry, there's a lot going on here on these first few turns.
Yeah, Liquid is just behind Audito and Jellyhead by the looks of it. They've got an early lead.
Yeah.
Can we jump into Liquid's view, I think? And we might have to switch between him and Audito. Just trying to see where everybody is on this track. Yeah, it looks like... oh, there was a very quick overtake there. They are battling out all three races going through.
Section, yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there we go. Liquid Prime, Audito, and... Oh, where'd the third one go? Jelly DNF? No, that must have been Jelly, I imagine, that was with them as well. As I'm seeing, yeah, Jelly DNF, Sam DNF as well. So that should just leave us with Audito, Liquid, and Shaqnu on the board.
Yeah, and Audito giving the M50 a run for its money in the snub ship. So it looks like a battle between Audito and Liquid. It looks like Liquid's just a little bit in the lead, and Shaqnu is just slightly further behind. If we can jump into Audito's view, we might be able to get a glimpse of Liquid ahead of him. just ahead in the checkpoint. I don't know how many meters. That looks like about 300 meters, maybe a bit less. And Audito is emptying his boost meter. He's got 0 boost left. He's got to fill it back up. He's got to recharge it to get around these next few corners. I think he's going to struggle to catch up. I think Liquid's going to extend that lead now. Audito not even feathering the boost, just using the ATMO grip at the moment. And now starting to use a little bit of boost to try and catch up. And yet, Liquid's just extended that lead. He is forcing his way through those checkpoints down, using the gravity to his advantage. And now Audito's got to use some boost, I believe, to try and fight gravity to get up. Doesn't look like he's doing... Oh, he's using it a little bit. Yeah, using it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think Liquid is now just so far ahead. We can, just about see him about 1 kilometer ahead by the looks of it. And we move on to lap 3.
Yeah, coming into this final lap, it was a big extension there from Liquid. Still very, very well done from both of them. Only, what, half a second between their finish there with all that said and done. Shaknu taking it a lot slower in that lap number 3 and the end half of lap number 2, just to make sure they get some points on the board, as they were, before this race, they were our last place position of the 6. So them picking up 3rd place is going to be huge for their numbers there. Liquid Prime picks up 1st place there for Sanctus Luna, Audito for BSI, and Shaknu for XGR.
Yeah, and so Liquid had 16 points at the end of the last few races, and obviously getting a 6 for this one, with Audito slightly ahead. So I think Liquid and Audito extending their lead, but also battling it out amongst themselves for the top 2 spots before we go into the final part of our race where we move to double points. But still, Record Memorial now, which is the slightly longer version of the old Vanderbilt style track. Again, head track advantage in this one is I think the best of the New Horizon tracks, because it's got quite a good flow. Obviously it's longer, but it's got a mix of turn types and a few spirals as well, which again make it a little bit disorientating. How do you feel about Rickard versus Old Vanderbilt?
There's always going to be a soft spot for Old Vanderbilt. It's just been, it was the default for racing for just the longest time, right? So having these other tracks in these locations has been quite a lot of fun, but it's hard for me to justify racing on them when I can run on Old Vanderbilt. Now, notably, we're going to be doing 2 laps here at Rickard, and I did just want to say, because we sort of missed it at the end of that last race, with Jellyhead, who was also in that top section after the first 3 races, DNFing and getting 0 points for that last lap. It is very quickly becoming just a race between Audito and Liquid Prime, at least for these initial races. So, some stories are starting to form, some rivalries are starting to form. So,
yeah, I think it's been unfortunate with the DNF so far, because these are very practiced racers. They haven't had too many DNFs between them in the entire tournament, really. So to see this happening here just goes to show how much they are pushing themselves. It sounds like we are setting up the grid, and our racers are just getting ready for Rickard Memorial. In terms of your predictions for this race, considering what just happened in the last race, do you think we'll see a repeat? Do you think it'll be Liquid and Audito again for this one? Or do you think because of the sort of warm-up that they've had, the grid will settle more differently this time?
I mean, it's becoming that way, but it's also because of some things that have been happening in the first laps, right? Like, we've been seeing some really, really good performances so far today from Shaknu and Canadian Maverick. But every time we see a good performance from them today, for the most part, except for that last race, they end up DNFing on like the second lap or like late into the first lap. So they like have been putting up big fights, but not necessarily been able to sustain them for that long. I still really, really want to see Samtastic pull off one of these races, get into the top 3 of one of them. In Miners Lament, they were able to get 4th place there. So, hopefully we're able to see them pull off some stuff here. But I think, at the very least, Shaknu and Maverick are not to be counted out just yet. Want to see if they can prove that they also belong here in Rickard Memorial.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got like a mix of racers here because Samtastic and Maverick, they've got sort of 9 or 10 time trial runs each on scr.gg. So they are relatively new in comparison on the sort of on the in the racing community compared to Shaknu, who's been here for a very, very long time. And I was talking earlier about the number of world records and the number of wins that these racers have, with Jellyhead having 33 world records, Ortito having 7 world records, Liquid having 1 world record, and Shaknu having 1 world record, all under their belts. So it's interesting to see almost like the old versus new. And I'm just glad to see new racers throughout the pack. I'm really rooting for these new racers. I'm rooting for Canadian Maverick. I'm rooting for Samtastic. Just to see how Ordito has come up and become a top racer, even though he's not been here quite as long as Shaknu, for example. It just goes to show that all of the practice does pay off. And if you are a new racer and you are like top 6 rather than top 3, that just the time and the practice does pay off in the long run.
It certainly does. Now, to give you guys an update on the points that we're sitting at the moment after race number 4, we currently have Liquid Prime in the lead with 22 points, followed by Ordito, as you would imagine after watching that race, at 21 points. So you know what I said during Stand to Pirate Jump Point about like 1 point's probably not going to matter that much. Turns out it's starting to matter at the moment, so we'll see if that continues along some of these races. Jellyhead is at 13 points, so a full 8 points behind Ordito. Then we have Shaknu at 7, and then Maverick and Samtastic both on 5 points. Now, once again, remember the last 3 races will be worth double, so tons of points to be made there, but you want to be obviously sitting in as good a position as possible as you head into it.
Yeah, and I think with the variety of ships that we've got on this race, as we get closer and closer to gravity, we're going to see more of these battles as well. So even though we've got like a little bit of a lead with the points, each race I think will bring us closer and closer to the pack. So I think with the Skyscraper and with Louisville Outskirts, the whole tournament is designed to even the pack. And so although we've got this spread of points to begin with, I think we're going to find out that the different flying styles, the different ships, not only will they even out in the end, but the points will start to even out as well. And then we're going to get some really good, interesting narratives where it's going to be just, like you say, just 1 or 2 points possibly between first, second, and third place.
Yep, indeed. Now, we're having just a couple of lobby problems as we launch into this one, so bear with us, guys. But let us know in all of the chats, whether you're watching on YouTube or x.com or LinkedIn or MySpace. That still exists, right? Make sure you guys let us know who you're rooting for, who you think is going to take away Gravity Rush, and grab some of those awesome prizes that we're going to offer grabs.
Yeah, I tell you what, the ATMO Esports do some fantastic prizes. Really interesting to see these real-life trophies. Really enjoyed seeing the trophies in Enter Atmosphere last year. Were there any prizes that you've really coveted, as a commentator, feeling like you wish that you were part of the race just so that you could get to hold one of the trophies one day? Anything that you've seen like ATMO do that you're like, yeah, this is actually the most interesting prize pool, or anything like that?
There actually is, and it has nothing to do with the vehicles. The bomber jackets. One day I'm going to convince Crucian to get me a Champions bomber jacket, because that goes so hard and I love it. And hey, I'm a winner in some respects, right? I get to watch all the races. That's winning.
I quite like your choice, because the Zeus bomber jacket that CIG produced recently, I quite like the look of that as well. So yeah, perhaps there could be a little collab between some of the official designs and maybe something that ATMO produces. And yeah, producing a bomber jacket sounds like a nice idea. Yeah, I mean, the trophies were massive as well at Enter Atmosphere. I don't know how big they are physically for this for this event. I've obviously seen the graphic and they look quite imposing. And I know that a few of the racers, you know, who have won previous ATMO events have got them on their trophy shelves.
Yep.
So yeah, do you know about the production of these trophies? Are they as large as they look on screen?
So they've changed a little bit over the years, right? As we've sort
Yeah.
of changed who's made them and all that sort of stuff. The one that I get to see in person the most is we have someone in Australia who won the DMR Rally a couple of years ago and brings it to all of the bar citizens that they attend, and it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It is quite large. It sits very nicely above the mantle, you know. So, you know, it's always quite a nice thing to have. Not that I
Yeah,
have
I
any,
love-
because every event that I qualified for in ATMO Esports, I got absolutely trounced during all of the things. Let me take you through Cyberfox as we're waiting for the lobby to go through.
Yeah,
Let me
do it.
take you through a bit of a history lesson of Croncy being bad at racing. So the very first year of the System 7, I was #1 qualifier. All right, I was the
No way.
fastest. I then proceeded to come, I think, second last overall in the entire System 7.
Oh,
It did not go well. The second year of the System 7, I would have to double check. I believe I was also once again #1 qualifier. If I wasn't, I think it was Diplomat. Because myself and Diplomat kept doing back-to-back practice runs, and we were trying to solve the format and whatnot. I then proceeded to, I think, come 9th in that System 7. And then I retired and became a commentator. So there's your lesson. That's all you need to learn about how that could happen to you in the chat. Anyone there, you could do that and then become a commentator.
I feel like this is a great example of the difference between exactly time trials and competitive racing, right? Because time trials, I know that these racers, that they practice literally hundreds of laps, making sure that they can go round and round and round in Arena Commander without crashing, just to learn the track. And then they go and put down their time solo. And then when it comes to race day and they've got 5 other competitors blocking their view, taking their lines, you know, just the sort of mental pressure that the racers put on each other, it does affect your performance. And so it doesn't matter how many laps
100%.
you've done. It doesn't matter what your time trial times are, because race day and real life racing is different, I feel, to time trials.
Very much so. It really, really is. And it's not just different, it is like exciting. It is very cool to be able to participate in these types of races in like, without a proper sort of ranked system for racing in StarCitizen. Like all we have really is, like, for the most part, lap times. There's no like we are the closest thing to an official tournament, right? And some of the other orgs like XGR, like ANZI and whatnot, we are the closest things to like official tournaments. So you don't get a lot of opportunities to do proper races with other really skilled racers, and so it's really fun. It's really cool. It's an awesome experience. But yeah, it's very, very different. It utilizes a lot of skills you can't really practice well by yourself.
Yeah, and it's also like, I know that this is built into Arena Commander, but we're going to take it to the PU, and I know these racetracks are also built into the PU as well with the checkpoints and so on. But this is a really good example of emergent gameplay, because this gameplay was developed by the community to begin with. So we had these fast ships, we scouted these nice locations, and we started putting down, you know, chimes. We started recording like track guides and so on within the community, and then CIG made them canon, made them lore, put in the geometry, put in the architecture, like at Icebreaker, for example, put in all of those buildings there to make the track an official part of the game. And I think competitions that we're running here at ATMO, XGR, ANZIA, and so on, all of this is emergent gameplay. This is an emergent esports tournament. This is an emergent, you know, event. And it's really a way to live the game, I feel, because you're like taking the verse as if it's real and bringing it into real life. These are real people putting in their real time in their real lives to come and perform for everybody who's watching.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So sorry guys, we're just having, you know, you've all played StarCitizen before. We have some things that happen sometimes, and we're just making sure everything works. I guess one advantage of running an arena commander this year has been sort of the bonuses that you get for being in there. Like you tend to have less server issues. You tend to be able to, I mean, run these back-to-back races a lot faster, which has been quite nice. And just as I say that, apparently we had a 30k. Love it. I'm a curse today. I cursed Maverick in race number 3 before. now I'm cursing the servers. This is going terribly.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty par for the course, really, especially with live events. And yeah, I mean, apologies to all those who are viewing and just seeing this track loop over and over and over again. Hopefully, Croncy and mine commentating is giving you a little bit of entertainment. We're putting on our, you know, our stand-up comedian style hats at the same time. But yeah, you got to laugh about it, really, because this is just the state of internet gaming as it is at the moment, really. And I think it sounds like they are trying a final time to get the lobby launched, so it shouldn't be too much longer of a delay before we get confirmation as to see whether we are going to start this race sooner or have to ad-lib for a little bit. So yeah, sounds like we're going to go to ads. So see you all guys in a bit.
Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill.
It's my guy. Like, like, man, 5 years. You should know me by now, man. You
And here
Star
we
Citizen
are.
is working.
Well,
Let's go. We are
yeah,
back, everyone. Hello again.
Memorial.
Yeah. We are back, and we finally have views because we're about to get going over here on Rickard Memorial. We're going to be doing 2 laps here. This is race number 5 for today, with still plenty of races left and lots of developments to happen, I imagine. We'll see if Shaknu, Maverick, or Samtastic can get over the 10-point hump, and what is happening in between Liquid Prime and Audito. Currently 1 point behind each other, way far ahead at the top of the leaderboard.
Just waiting with bated breath now, just hoping that we can get off the line with no issues.
So very excited for this one. So we'll get a countdown going pretty soon here. Let us know in chat, who are you looking to win Rickard Memorial? Audito, Liquid Prime, Jelly Handmade, Shaknu, Canadian Maverick, or Samtastic? Get your biggest hypes in all of your chats. Also, a big shout out, Space Tomato Gaming. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hope you're excited to watch some of the best races in Star Citizen, hopefully not collide into the side of a building.
It's going to be tough, this one, getting through those checkpoints together. The first one is like right there. I can see it. Everybody's pointing at it. Like just the first checkpoint, just squeezing through is going to be really tough. I know that they've spaced the grid out a bit, but it's not by much.
No. All right, so the 30 seconds is on the way. This is my countdown again, so we'll get it going here in just a second. Good luck, everyone. And let's have a good one. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Okay, looks like Audito has got off the line really quick with Jelly Handmade and Liquid Prime just a little bit behind. Oh, Jelly Handmade doing a quick overtake there. And Liquid Prime fighting back as well. Audito's got a very quick DNF, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Shaknu also crashing out on the first lap. So Liquid and Jellyhead in the lead. And it looks like Canadian and Samtastic a little bit further behind. I can't tell which one is furthest. Oh, and Canadian Maverick colliding with some of the building. And Samtastic! Oh, so we've got a head-to-head now with Jellyhead Made and Liquid Prime. But my gosh, what an upset. After all of that time waiting.
Stop commentating. I just keep on talking about people not going to collide, and then they just all collide with the buildings. This is terrifying. Now, Liquid Prime and Jellyhead still on the board. Our current second and third place. First and third place?
First and second.
Where's my first and third? First and third place overall for our races today. Audito with the early DNF is going to be absolutely huge for both of these people, as it's going to mean Liquid Prime is going to be able to push that little lead that they had of 1 point ahead even further. And Jellyhead now making a dash for top 2 here. So
Liquid's just about to take the overtake.
Race.
I think Liquid's just slightly behind. No, Liquid has done the overtake, and now Jellyhead is fighting to get back again. He's got 50% of his boost tank at the moment, so pushing it as hard as he can, squeezing through those checkpoints, cutting it as tight as possible. Undercutting Liquid there. Looks like he's overtaken and undertaken, and then he's first, and he's second, and he's first again. Quite a battle happening right now. You can't see him because he's just underneath on the screen. We can try Liquid, and Liquid just going for the overtake there as well.
Yep. Yeah, lots of back and forth here through these checkpoints, which is great to see of our 2 remaining races on the track. Both looking for a solid finish here to push them further into the lead. Jellyhead trying to push ahead of Audito right now, who's on 21 points. Jellyhead trying to push back up there, try to get a 6-point and head towards them. So this is going to be a great finish for both of these races, but it's really about who comes out on top.
Yeah, Jellyhead made just behind on the right-hand side. If we can cut to Jellyhead's view, he's fallen behind a little bit. You can see he's chasing Liquid's tail, flying inverted and rolling around to try and cut the corners as sharp as possible. Looks like he's overtaken.
He's overtaken, yeah. As they head towards the finish line. That is Jellyhead in the win there. It's a lot. That was a lot closer than 2 seconds. I'll tell you that much based on our perspectives there. As Jellyhead is going to win race number 5, followed by Liquid Prime in second. That was a hell of a fight.
That was insane. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Exactly what I was expecting for this track as well. Just as I said, the closer we get to the ATMO tracks, the more gravity we get, the more competitive the snub ships get compared to the race ships. And we're going to be moving to Skyscraper next, which will be, I hope, not a complete repeat of this, but a complete repeat of the sort of battles that we're going to get. But yeah, what a tragic race, head to head, but also tragedy from 4 of our racers in this race.
And it all happened so quickly too there, right? Like Ordito and I think was it Shaknu DNFing almost on the first or second turn there right off the bat was very, very rough. So
yeah, and then Fantastic and Canadian Maverick, yeah. Both at the
same time about halfway through the first lap if I remember. So yeah,
my heart is racing.
Crazy.
I don't know how to.
So, sorry, I was just going to say, to have all of those DNFs and then still have this really, really awesome close fight for the entire race as well as a hell of a race.
I was going to say, my heart is racing. I don't know how the racers are feeling. They must be like 170, 180 BPM on their hearts for what just happened. And now they've got to go and perform again. I need a breather just after watching that, let alone like racing the damn thing. That was amazing.
Wonderful. Our first DNF from a heart attack after that race. So yeah, we're moving into Skyscraper. So we're moving back into 3 laps here. And Skyscraper. This was one of my favorite races that we did during the group stage, mostly because it's really cool. It's very fun to run around in Area 18 and have all these buildings around. Now, the mail slots, all of the mail slots that exist in this racetrack are very, very dangerous, but these are some of the most skilled races in the game. I am not going to say whether or not there will or won't be collisions because I've been cursing everything, so... Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just interesting to see if there's any dynamic weather because, you know, the turbulence there's potential to make things even trickier as well. Obviously in AC, we always race it at night, so it's easier to see the checkpoints because there's no sun glare and the holographic markers light up. And yeah, again, in terms of the ship choice, despite the fast time trial records, the P52, P72 snub ships are not the best ships for competitive racing on this track. You have to go full bore to get the lift and the aerodynamic advantage to cut through the corners. And that means a really tight racing line, and if you put lots of racers on the same line, well, you get lots of ship-to-ship collisions, let alone, you know, ship-to-building collisions. And that's where it comes in, where you're talking about the mail slots, because there are some really narrow checkpoints here. There's some really sharp corners, and if they're all fighting for the same racing line, I think this is where you're going to see racers come close together, and maybe you'll see ship-to-ship collisions instead of racers colliding with some of the buildings instead.
Yep, definitely. Now, a quick points update after that race that we just had. So we now have Liquid Prime still in first now with 27 points. Ordito, even with that DNF, still in second with 21. Jellyhead has now skyrocketed up to 19, so within spitting distance of Ordito. Then we still have Shaknu on 7, Maverick on 5, and Samtastic on 5. So some big changes happening here in our top 3 at the moment. Still plenty of races to go. A reminder, our last 3 races today are double the points. So a big comeback mechanic for our last 3 when we get to them. But obviously you want to be sitting as far forward as you can after these initial 6 races.
Yeah, so the grid's being set up, and do you have any predictions for this race, Croncy? Any favorites to win this after seeing what we just saw?
I mean, the 3 races to watch today so far have been Liquid, Ordito, and Jellyhead. They have been outperforming the field in our top 6 so far today. But we keep having these really good performances from some of our other races like Shaknu that just are very unfortunate, and we get an early DNF, right? Like they're not sitting in a particularly bad spot as they start. They've just got an awkward turn a little bit early, that sort of thing. So I still do really want to see what they can do with a solid start and you know, not colliding with anything, not missing a checkpoint halfway through and having to run back, that sort of thing, and see how they can go. Especially, I brought up Shaknu for a reason, because when we did see Shaknu during Yadar Valley, we know that Shaknu can come back from a late position and really, really push it.
Absolutely.
And really risk it too. It's just obviously in that particular case, the risk didn't work right at the end there. And we know Maverick and Samtastic have that capability as well. So my prediction, we're still going to be watching these fights between Liquid, Ordito, and Jellyhead, but I'm really, really hoping that other 3 races can pull some stuff here.
Yeah, I think this is going to be our most battled race so far. And I think it's just going to keep increasing as we get to Lawville as well. I'm predicting we might get a DNF from Cyberfox if the excitement is so hyped up. And yeah, I might just get a little bit too excited during this race if we're going to see a repeat of the last one. But it looks like the races are all on the grid now, and we're just waiting for the official 60-second countdown.
I will say there was a period of time, I think it might have been during Yada, or no, I think it was during Miners Lament, where we had 4 races right on top of each other for like the whole first half of the race, which was, I think, was Ordito, Liquid Prime, Jelly, and I want to say it was Shaknu. And I'm hoping we get to see that again today at least one more time. So maybe this is the track to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And turn 1's the trickiest turn on this track as well. So it's going to happen right at the start again. And weirdly, you have to approach a lot of these checkpoints quite wide to line up ready for the next one. So the advantage that the P72s have of cutting the corners really sharp might be not quite as impressive as in previous tracks. They can't just go checkpoint to checkpoint. They have to go wide in order to get a good angle for the next checkpoint. So it's going to force them into the same lines as the race ships as well. We've got our 30-second countdown. I think it's me to do the 10-second for this one. Indeed. So wish me luck. Shaknu doing his little twirl and a dance again.
You got to show off for the fans.
Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Jellyhead made getting an early lead, and Ordito cutting through the pack and catching up to second place. Jellyhead made first through the first corner. Liquid Prime and Ordito really, really close next to each other. We can't see Ordito because in his snub ship.
I believe that was Maverick with a collision there as well.
Oh,
and
unfortunate.
Ordito? Yes.
Oh, Dito's just DNF'd as well as Maverick through the first and second corner.
So a couple of early collisions there. It is one of the hardest spots to get through, especially when you've got 6 races coming around that corner into that little mail slot. So makes a lot of sense. Hopefully we get to see some big fights here again, though. As we, as we
I think Liquid and Shaknu are they? I think Liquid and Shaknu are battling out right now. Jellyhead Maid's in the lead, but I've seen on Liquid and Shaknu's screen like overtaking each other. I'm not sure who's. I think Liquid's just a little bit ahead. So. Oh, yeah. So I think Shaknu's just a little bit behind. If we can follow Shaknu, perfect. And just ripping around this corner. Can't see, obviously having to roll and turn and fighting the ship to get through these checkpoints. And yeah, there's Liquid just slightly ahead.
The speed.
Just about 300 meters. Yeah.
Checkpoints is crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely thrilling to watch. I'm like literally just like I'm stuck for words because it's just so exciting to watch. They've come through the first lap. Jellyhead made it in first, Shaknu in second, and Liquid Prime in third. And we're in Shaknu's POV.
Yeah, if we could get a look at Liquid Prime, who seems to be just behind Shaknu from what we can tell. Although it looks like that was maybe a bit of a wide turn. They're not 100% sure as we're looking through and heading to the next checkpoint. Oh, Samtastic. There we go. Looks like we've got a collision there for Samtastic. Another DNF. We are down to 3 races on the board. Jellyhead, Shaknu, and Liquid Prime.
Can we jump in on Shaknu's view? Shaknu's just been overtaken. And yeah, another silent view, but just been overtaken. Oh, and I think just overtaken again.
Ooh.
Lap completed.
Was that?
That was
Jellyhead
a finish.
Have a collision? or possibly a missed checkpoint. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. There's like a DNF on the final turn for Jellyhead. Incredibly unfortunate. They were ahead the entire race. That is huge. So Shacknew's going to take first place there. Liquid Prime going to take second. Jellyhead almost won the whole thing there, pushing them very, very far ahead in the leaderboard, but they're gonna unfortunately lose that one, but head into third. So some big point changes once again, Cyberfox.
Yeah, and just as you said, we had that battle between Liquid Jelly and Audito. Then Audito DNF'd and Shacknew took over, forcing his way up to the top of the leaderboard for that race. Well, not the top of the leaderboard, but the top of the race position for this race. And coming into that three-way battle, as Jellyhead Made took himself out. Just incredible how we had like 4 races in it the whole way round.
Yep, it was very. Now, those are our 4th, 5th, and 6th race done, which means we're going to head it back to our desk and hear about what we just saw over the course of the last hour.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the desk here for the Gravity Rush Finals. Man, a lot of issues, obviously, with AC happening, but man, I've never seen so much DNFs in an entire race. I'm not sure, if it's a mix of maybe the servers. I know they possibly switched servers, but also, I haven't seen this much DNFs, honestly, even since the group stage or the semifinals, which is very, very surprising. So we'll kind of go through that and talk about that here with our incredible analysts. Of course, we have Tint and Jacqueline. If it's been too long, and if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, welcome to the Gravity Rush Finals, where we're about to crown your inaugural champion for this event. So very excited for that. But we're jumping right into it here, Jacqueline. Old Vanderval, man, those twists took a lot of people out. Give us your thoughts on that track.
Yeah, I think this is where we're really starting to see the P72 really come up to par with the M50. We could see in both the Old Vanderval and the Rickard Memorial tracks, they were very, very equal performance at that top level. And then it really comes down to the discipline of the P72 pilot on how much they can maintain their boost usage. Because on the boost, they have the pace advantage, but they also have to cater for that time where they have to regenerate. And we see both Audito and Jelly did a fantastic job. We saw Shacknew as well, also being able to push from the back and get up to those finishing to those point scoring positions. Unfortunately, Jelly did end up getting a DNF just before finishing the lap. I think he crashed at the tunnel entrance before finishing that lap, so I don't think he came out with any points for that one. But Audito, having just said with the boost management, seems to have overused the boost on his second lap, which gave the opportunity for Liquid to cut across and get that gap widened while Audito was recharging. So unfortunate to see Audito not having enough boost on that last lap to be able to fight. But it was a really, really close battle all throughout. And yeah, really, really happy to see Shacknew be able to fight up to that 3rd place spot too.
Yeah, so totally agree there. Well, jumping right over to you, Tint. Give us your thoughts on Old Vanderval and how this turned out for those 6 finalists.
I think this is, I talked about at the very beginning of the day today, the disaster potential of these ships is frequently a big consideration. And additionally, we get the disaster potential for the pilots as they get more and more stressed, as they get more and more of a need to climb up in the rankings. And I think we're seeing that come through in spades, where Canadian and Sam and Shacknew are looking for and their wins to get some additional points on the board here before we go into Lorville. And they're pushing perhaps where they shouldn't very frequently. Now we saw that play out pretty well for Shacknew on Old Van, where he was, again, coming back from the back of the grid, took a little bit of a conservative pace off the line to make sure that he had some clean air, and then pushed his time trial lines as hard as he could. Whereas for Canadian and Sam, we saw, I think, probably the pushing a little bit too hard and finding that the air on Old Vanderval is just a little bit thin for the reflexes that they've built up over their practice racing across all sorts of different environments, just sliding out and finding the wall. And it's rough, but it happens to the best of them.
Yeah. In this race, we saw, of course, Liquid Prime taking first place, 48-second on a best lap there, with awarding 6 points. Audito in second for 5 points. And then we had Shacknew in third place for 4 points, kind of getting back, crawling back up to that top 3. And then you had, unfortunately, Jelly had made Canadian Maverick and Samtastic DNF. But again, with the last 3 races coming up, there's going to be a lot of double points happening, so it could change anything, especially knowing that these are going to be 6 laps races, so it's going to be very very enduring across the board. But honestly, I completely can agree with you guys. Moving on here to Rickard Memorial, that one was exciting. Absolutely loved that race. But we saw a lot of DNFs, more than any other race today, where we saw 4 people DNF. But so I'll throw it right back to you, Tent. Talk to me about Rickard Memorial, because that was gruesome.
So we saw two kinds of DNF, and I'm not sure if we saw Shacknu and Ordito merge or if we saw them both hit a patch of desync at the same time, but we lost them both together right at the beginning of the race, which is really where I would expect a collision to happen just because everybody's so bunched up. Then we saw as they came into the first really tight section of the track, we lost both Canadian Maverick and Samtastic, and that's less surprising to me because one of the real core strengths of the P72 is its fantastic, aerodynamic grip. And the snub pilots were all able to leverage that to force the ship through these tight gaps in between the buildings. But Canadian Maverick and Samtastic and the M50 and the Razor did not have that to their advantage. And you have to be real precise, picture perfect on your throttle control coming in there, or you'll slide out, as you're seeing right now on the camera, and just tap the edge of a building. So that's always rough to see, but getting a fantastic battle out of Rickard is also amazing to see. Getting to see the M50 and the P72 go back and forth. And really, as we've been talking about through all of these races, the P72's boost timer creates a really interesting dynamic where when the P72 can stay on the boost, it's absolutely going to gain ground and get out in front. But every time that snub pilot has to recharge the boost, the M50 has a chance to get ahead again.
Yeah, it's I totally get it, and it's funny because the more I've seen these races, the more I understand why people are not using some of like obviously some other racing ships are not viable, but as those racing ships get bigger, you have a more chance to clip on those turns, and you have to really center those ships. If not, that's gonna be night for you. But Jacqueline, your thoughts here on Rickard Memorial, which was definitely, like I mentioned, a little bit gruesome with 4 DNFs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna blame a part of that to just the wait time getting into this track. Having to spend a couple of minutes just waiting to get into the race can start riling up those nerves a bit. So I'm gonna blame a little bit of that performance anxiety, I guess, on that. But yeah, it was rough to see Shacknu and Rodito kind of taking each other out at that point. But the amazing battle we had between Jelly and Liquid was just fantastic to see. A perfect display of M50 versus P72. Like you could not get a better race than that. One thing that I noticed is that um, Liquid in the M50 got a really good pace advantage in Old Vanderbilt because he was utilizing a lot of the M50's currently overpowered, I guess, down pitch, where you can generate so much more lift and can take turns so much sharper. Whereas in this one, there was a lot of pitching up, which, as Tint was highlighting, with the M50, you got to take turns a little bit wider. You need that speed to generate that lift. Whereas the P72 can cut a little bit better, and we saw several times those overtakes, Jelly cutting in through, getting that wide exit, and then using that exit speed, and those back and forth. And I just really enjoyed when I was watching Jelly's perspective is just when he was using the boost, because generally when you're labbing out a race like this, especially in something like the P72 where the boost is so much more important, you always find what's the most optimal way to use my boost for the fastest race time. But then when you're in a 1v1 race, your fastest race is relative to the guy you're fighting. So if you find a section where you're like, I have the advantage here, and you can hold off from that boost a little bit, it will give you extra boost for those moments where you're struggling. And I think that is exactly the strategy that I saw Jelly using here, where he saved a little bit more boost than you probably would normally do, and then got that extra bit of a boost at the end and took first place just at the end of the race. So that was fantastic to see.
Yeah, that was definitely a first second place battle there, and but in the beginning when we were, I believe I believe it was Ordito's point of view earlier in the replays, we saw what do you call it, Canadian Maverick just zooming right by Liquid as well. So yeah, that was definitely a fun one to watch. I really like Rickard Memorial as just a racetrack overall. Definitely a lot of fun to watch. But the results here, Jellyhead Made, who came in first place with the best lap at 122, and Liquid Prime. I know it says 2 seconds, but the thing is, like, it might have been a little bit quicker. But yeah, Liquid Prime jumping into second place, awarding those 5 points, and then unfortunately the rest of the other four racers, or Dito, Shaqnu, Canadian Maverick, and Fantastic, unfortunately DNF'd right in that first lap. So that's going to cost them 0 points. Jumping into Skyscraper right there at the end, right at the finish line, we saw Jellyhead Made, unfortunately, hit a building on that last turn. But Jacqueline, right back to you. Give us your thoughts on Skyscraper.
Yeah, this is essentially the last hurrah before we jump into the double points system, right? So anytime if there was a moment where you needed to get those extra points, this was it. And
Yeah.
and we saw, Shaqnu, one of as soon as we got off the go on the start, Shaqnu stayed a bit behind for like a second and a half, and then he went on through, and then eventually, ended up winning the race. So he definitely went with the conservative approach. Did not want to get into the battle and for that turn one, because it can get insanely tight, and it worked out well for him because with Jelly had made, he had a fantastic performance. Looked like he was coming through with the win with quite a decent gap. But unfortunately did get that collision just before the finish line, which can take out so many people. It's such a tight corner, and you need to get the angle perfectly right. Unfortunately, Jellyhead Made did get caught out by that, which did end up bringing Shaqnu up in the front. But yeah, Liquid Prime also managing to keep the M50 on pace, because I believe that for this particular track being such thicker ATMO, the P72 definitely had the advantage going into this. And we did see Ordito kind of crash out in the beginning, but I don't think we had that on display at the moment. So I don't exactly know what happened there. But yeah, Liquid Prime did a fantastic job with the M50 just to keep up with the snubs there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. 10 Skyscraper, break it down for us, man. That was definitely a fun one to watch, but just some unfortunate event happens towards the end.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna venture into the realm of conjecture a little bit. We saw Ordito pushing really hard, I think trying to get some clean air at the start of the race, and burning full bore into that first corner and not quite holding it. I think that was probably a miscalculation. He may have been a little frustrated. He may have been a little tilted after the previous race and just wanted to get some clean air. But seeing his markers shoot out so quickly off the line is what kind of makes me think he may have been overspeeding into the first turn there. But I think really, Skyscraper also is just sort of the feather in the cap for Liquid today of being just a phenomenally consistent racer. This is, I mean, in the M50, he's pulled 4 out of our 6 best laps across these races, and yet he's the only pilot in the field today who does not have a single DNF. This is just
Yep.
beautiful to see. It's and the scoring system absolutely rewards that consistency. So getting to see him come into this final section not in his preferred ship, but with a nice, heavy points advantage is great to see, because really this is that practice showing through time and time again for him, the hours put in and grinding on these tracks. Also, of course, great to see Shaqnu in full form again, making that full press to catch up and just barely squeaking it out in the last couple corners. But even throughout the entire race, you could see he was a man on a mission. Every time we could see his view, he's just lasered in on the lines, dead perfect. And especially with Skyscraper, where your biggest enemy is blackout. This is a track that unusually for atmospheric tracks rewards restraint. Having a little bit of a hold back to make sure that you can make your corner, that you have the boost capacity if you get into trouble, and to make sure that you're not blacking out. Riding the edge like that becomes even tenser. And so seeing Shaqnu do what he does best and ride that edge perfectly, just absolutely, I love to see it.
Before we jump into the results, but for Skyscraper, before we jump into the overall results currently right now, our results for Skyscraper was Shaqnu taking that first place spot, awarding those 6 points. Liquid Prime in fifth. You had Jellyhead Made right behind them and taking a DNF in third place, but he did pass at least or completed the first lap, so gets awarded full points there. Fantastic with DNF in fourth place. Again, passing that first lap, so getting those 3 points. And then You have Ordito and Canadian Maverick completely DNFing within that first lap, so unfortunately they get no points. But I have a specific question because this relates to you both so much, right? So you see Liquid Prime, you see a lot of these top racers, right? So comfortable. Probably they have some nerves, of course, because this is the finals. They have some other great racers, but how do you think? What is the comparison? Do you think that these racers will do well in a LAN environment, kind of like how you guys experienced at Enter Atmosphere? And Tint, I'll start it with you first, and just give me the resemblance. Do you think that getting them out of their comfort zone in a LAN environment, will they have the same results?
I think it does vary a lot from racer to racer. Some of them are, I know, really big on rituals. Things that they do every
Yes.
time before a race starts. I know that's something that Shaqnu has even preached and taught in his racing classes to a lot of these racers, is having sort of a pre-flight mental space for yourself. And so if that's something that they can translate to on stage, I think then that really works in their favor. And that's something that I was trying to do myself on stage at EA54, was take that sort of 30-second run up, try and just block out the fact that the crowd is there, and run through the course in my mind and sort of visualize what I'm about to do. And
Yep.
so that's a skill that these guys will definitely develop through racing, but it will not carry through hard into a LAN environment. There's an extra layer to it that complicates it just enormously.
No, well, thank you for that. How? What are your thoughts there, Jacqueline?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors that goes into it, right? I mean, for one setup change, I mean, people like, for example, we see like Shaqnu and Liquid, for example, they play on a really wide screen. You put them on a 16:9, it's completely going to change their perspective on how they race, right? So you could
Yep.
be practicing for hours on end at home when you're a comfortable setup. You go to a new environment, has a completely different setup, and it will throw you off. I mean, I'm the same. I play on an ultra wide, so when I went on stage at Enter Atmosphere, it took me a while to adjust. It's a good thing we got some time beforehand to practice that. But that's another thing is, how well do you do in a group setting? I mean, let's face it, we're gamers, right? A lot of us are introverts. You put us next to other racers, we're going to feel uncomfortable, let alone in front of the audience. So there's a lot of factors that goes into there. So it's tough to say just based on their racing performance how would they do on a stage. But yeah, just as Tim said, you just need to find that thing that you can do before the race that puts you in the zone. I mean, for me, just breathing exercises, and just basically during the race, I was just commentating it in my head, just blocking out all the noises and seeing what works. Yeah, it's just, you have to find what works, knowing beforehand that you're going to go in front of an audience.
Yeah, which will go into my next quick comment about, like, that's why we want to invite some of these top three. I hope these top three really take that invitation to heart, because I'll be honest with you, like, even though there might be some difficulties, there might be some adjustments, there's no feeling like it, right? There's no feeling about people cheering in front of you. There's nobody home cheering for you. So getting that feeling and getting that experience is so important, especially. So it's gonna be something that like a lot of you guys mentioned, that for the people that came to EA54, it was an experience that they never ever had before. Funny enough, I'm gonna give a good example here. The like fight or flight, like those orgs don't like each other at all. Like they don't like each other whatsoever. And racing is a little bit different. But the thing is, when everybody came in person, bro, everybody was friends. Everybody was like talking about the game, talking about what their thoughts are about, like like helping each other give information, before the matches. So it became a different experience. While they may not like each other org-wise online, everybody was meshing in person. It was actually the coolest thing to see, that everybody was just like becoming friends, and it's all because, that environment to bring everybody together and compete in person is honestly a magical experience. And, I hope that whatever top three we get today is going to come and bring that in together. So with that being said, we have upcoming an interview with both Herbie, and we're going to also have Splin, where we're going to be talking to them about the preparations about Gravity Rush. And then we're going to ask them some questions. Jacqueline's going to ask some questions. Tim's going to ask some questions if you guys have any. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have both. I believe we'll kick it off with Splin here, and then Herbie. We'll have those interviews ready. So don't go anywhere, guys. Continue cheering for these top 6 finalists: Ordito, Liquid Prime, Jellyhead, Shaqnu, Canadian Maverick, Simtastic. Thank you guys so much, man, for just being a part of the inaugural season for Gravity Rush. And, continue racing. There's 3 more races. There's still a lot more excited to go. I don't think that you know, any of these, I think any of these racers can still make it, especially with double points. It's just going to be a little bit more push that they're going to need to move forward, especially with Lorville outskirts with 6 laps. So let's take a look at our overall standings before we jump into the break, because I forgot. Overall points so far, we have Liquid Prime with 32, Jellyhead Made with 23 points, or Dito 21 points, and Shaqnu coming in that last race with the first place. So putting it on the board with 13 points, Fantastic and Canadian Maverick. For a lot of these people that are in the N3, these next three races are going to be so important. With 6 laps, they're going to have to pace themselves very, very well and manage their boost very, very well across the board. They're all going to be in the P72, so it's going to be the playing field is going to be completely leveled. So Lorville Outskirts is coming up here shortly after our interviews, and it's going to be exciting. So make sure, whether you guys are watching on YouTube, Twitch, or X, thank you guys so much for watching, man. Continue rooting for those racers, and we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our interviews, guys.
Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here with our first interview of the day. We're actually going to be interviewing Herbie and chat with Herbie about his preparations and his experience within Gravity Rush. And then I'll pass it over to Tint and Jack if they have any extra questions they want to ask. But first of all, Herbie, how you doing?
Oh, yeah. Hey, mate. How's it going?
Good, good, good. Nice to hear from you. I hope
Intense so far in these final races.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's jump right into it, Herbie. First question for me is what has the experience around Gravity Rush been like from the group stage to the semifinals?
I know a lot of the lines, and same with the video was a bit jacket